I have 8 random questions and I roll the die 3 times, and whatever we land on, that's what we start with.
Okay, sounds great.
5 is slasher survival. You have to go one-on-one with an iconic slasher of your choice. Who do you pick that gives you the best chance of surviving?
I feel like I would die, obviously, very quickly in every scenario because I'm an idiot and I would believe that I could take them and I would go straight at them and I would immediately be stabbed and die.
I feel like that's to your benefit that at least you know that going into it.
I always feel super powerful in moments of great stress, and I end up getting hurt or falling or doing something stupid. So yeah, I wouldn't survive. I definitely wouldn't be a final girl in any scenario.
Number 3, which is scary movies. What is the scariest movie you have ever seen?
The scariest movie that I saw at the age that I saw it, because I feel like age influences a lot how a movie impacts you. And when I saw the first Saw movie, it really messed with my mind. I was a fan of scary movies before that, and then that movie kind of turned me away from the genre for a while because it really just fucked with my brain. I was like, oh, I did not know that scary movies were like this. And it was such a like mind games, but then it was also so brutal and so explicit in what it showed. And I think at the time, I don't know when it came out, but I was like a teenager. I was like maybe 13 or 14, and it was a lot. So I blame Saw for turning me away from horror movies for over a decade. And then doing this movie kind of turned me back into my love of the genre.
Number 1 is movie and TV skills. So if you could learn a new skill or about a different profession through a role, what would you pick and why?
I would love to learn either like martial arts, something with the martial arts, a language, or an instrument. That I would love that. And I honestly love having to train for a role. It's one of my favorite parts, and I think it's the easiest way to get into a character is having to learn a new skill that you attribute to the character that's not yours. At least that's what I do. I kind of separate myself and I'm like, Melissa doesn't know how to do this, but this character knows how to do this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a brand new episode of Collider Ladies Night. I don't even need to introduce this. Everyone knows how big of a Scream fan I am. And I have one of the stars of the new movie with me, Melissa Barrera. Hello. I am so beyond thrilled to have you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you so much.
What is the movie, the performance, the personal experience, whatever it may be, that first made you say, I have to be an actor?
My way into acting happened through singing first. I originally wanted to be a singer. I just wanted to be like a pop star. There was this show back in Mexico that was like kind of like an American Idol for kids that was very popular on TV, and a neighbor of mine got cast in it. And so I would like watch the shows every Sunday, and he would sing and the kids got so famous. And then the kids that came out of that show would then do telenovelas, like kids telenovelas, and would act. And so my path was like, oh, I want to get into that competition show so that then I get to do telenovelas and I can sing and act. It was like a combination. There were always musical telenovelas. So that's how I first discovered that that's what I wanted to do. And I would audition and I would never get cast. So eventually I was like, that's not for me. And then I fell in love with theater. And that became my like life goal. I was like, I want to do Broadway. I want to go to school for musical theater. I want to do Broadway. I'm going to graduate and I'm going to book a Broadway show and I'm going to live in New York and that's going to be my life. That's what I thought.
So at that point, why did you decide to study that craft in a formal setting at school rather than, just try to jump right in and audition for anything you could?
I tried I would audition for stuff all the time in Mexico, and I wouldn't get cast. And so I understood very early on that you need to train and you need to be prepared for the opportunities, and you need to hone your skills so that you're ready for the opportunities when they present themselves to you. And so I never thought about skipping training. I always just thought that's a natural progression. I need to go to school for it. I need to get really good at my craft, and then I'll graduate, and then I will start working. And that for me was just, that's the way that life is. I never thought of like, let's just skip it and go move straight to Hollywood and like book something. I wanted to train.
So when did the focus start to shift from musical theater to, I mean, you're still tapping into your entire skill set in the work that you're putting out there, but when did that focus shift from stage work to film and television?
I think I just kind of fell into it. I was in New York. I was going to school for musical theater at NYU. And during a summer vacation after my sophomore year, I went back home and I auditioned for this singing competition show that was actually, now that I'm talking about it, it was like a version of the kids show that I always wanted to do, but this was for adults. And so I auditioned for it and I got cast. And I decided that I would go through with it. Instead of saying no and going back to NYU, I was like, this feels like an important opportunity that I need to take advantage of. And being an international student in the US, I didn't have working papers. Like I couldn't get cast in something and start working and get paid. That wasn't an option for me. So I knew that the path was going to be a little more complicated. And I thought in that moment, I was like, maybe this is the path. Maybe I have to start working in Mexico first and then cross over. And so that's where it began. I started singing, and then I started doing telenovelas, which is exactly what I wanted to do as a kid. And I had never thought about it until this moment.
What's something about working on those telenovelas that you think really helped you when you moved on to projects like Vida, In the Heights, and then some? But then on the other hand, what's something that was just like totally different about working with the Showtimes and the Warner Brothers and the Paramounts of the world that all that experience could never have prepared you for?
The reason that I'm very grateful that I started in telenovelas and that was my first TV acting experience is that there's nothing harder. There's no longer hours, no harder like shifts, if you could call them that, than when you're shooting a telenovela. I think things have changed now, but in 2011, when I first started, it was like shooting 16, 18-hour days. We would shoot 30 scenes a day. And it was just like nonstop. And you were shooting things that then you would see that night airing on television. Like just the rhythm of work was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm glad that was my first experience because that became normal for me. I didn't know anything else. And so everything that I did after that just seemed so easy. You know, everything was like, oh, we're not working Saturdays. Oh, okay. We're just working Monday through Friday. We're just doing 12 hours. Cool. Are you okay with pushing your call, with like forcing your call for an hour? So instead of getting a 12-hour turnaround, you get 11 or 10. I was like, listen, I didn't used to get any turnaround. I used to like be able to sleep for 4 or 5 hours and then have to go right back to work. So everything just feels easy. And I'm glad that was my first experience because it really made me have a work ethic and discipline and a really good memory. I feel like I have a privileged memory because I had to learn 30 scenes a day. And there's a thing called like an earpiece, a chicharo in Mexico that a lot of people use so that they don't have to learn the lines because asking people to memorize 30 scenes a day is ridiculous. But I never liked having a thing like a voice in my ear. So I would always just memorize everything. And now I can learn things like that. I have like photographic memory thanks to that. So I'm grateful because all of that prepared me for everything that I'm doing now. and to really be able to enjoy what I'm doing now, because I have more, it feels like more spacious and we have more time to do it.
Let's touch on In the Heights, which I absolutely loved. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from doing your very first like major studio movie?
Being a part of In the Heights was such a dream come true. It was another example of like manifestation in life, because while I was at NYU, I would go and watch In the Heights so often, and I would take everyone to watch it, and I would audition every open call that they held. I was there in line at 6 a.m. ready to sing 8 bars and hope for a call back. And it never happened. And I just, in that moment, I thought, this is my musical. This is me. Like, I know that I can play Vanessa and I'm ready. At 19, I felt that. And I wasn't, obviously. I was super green and I was not. I didn't have the skills and I didn't have the preparation. And 10 years later, I get cast in the movie, and it just feels like I was calling for it and putting it out in the universe with everything that I was doing to like get it back then. And it eventually came around. And so it was incredible. It was incredible for me. It was such a dream come true. And the whole experience of shooting the movie, training, learning the choreography, and spending 5 months in New York in the streets of like Washington Heights shooting it was surreal and beautiful. And I'm very proud of that.
I know you've got another horror movie lined up. So what would you say is, a new tool in your acting toolkit, so to speak, that you can attribute to Scream that you are eager to apply to future horror films?
I think what I learned most in Scream, and it was more in the behind the scenes camaraderie aspect of it, I learned how fun it is to make a scary movie. Sometimes when you're dealing with material that's so dark and so heavy and so traumatic as an actor, and I used to do this all the time, I would like feel like I have to be in that headspace to deliver. And so I would literally like just isolate myself on set and like go away, and I wouldn't talk to anyone. And I would, from the moment I woke up in the morning, if I had like a very emotional scene or a very like, exhausting scene and like, ¿cómo se dice? Ajetreada. I don't know the English word, but like something that requires a lot of me emotionally, I would just shut down, because I thought that I had to like save energy to be able to deliver that. And it made me not have fun sometimes, because you're in that awful headspace for a really long time when you don't have to be. And I learned in Scream to trust myself, that I can get to the places that I need to get to without having to like be serious and sad and like in that headspace behind the scenes. And I took that when I finished shooting Bed Rest, which comes out in July. And it was such a challenge for me to do that role. Such a contained thriller, but very reliant on my character's journey and my point of view. So it's the camera always in my face, basically. And it could have been a lot. Like I could have been destroyed after that movie, and I was very exhausted, obviously, because it was a lot, but I also had a lot of fun, and that's something that I took from Scream.
My time is winding down, and I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity to geek out a little with you here. So I know your Scream. So first, I've got to ask you the obvious question. Can you rank the other 4 movies for me? And I'm someone who absolutely adores all 4 of them. So the ranking, it's like I still love them all.
I literally just watched them with my whole family over the last week. So they're so fresh in my mind. And this time around, I'm very surprised. I even surprised myself that I feel like I loved 3 so much more than I ever did. I used to think that 3 was my least favorite one out of the 4. And now I think it's like tied with the first one. It's just so, it feels like it lives in almost like a different tone as the other ones. It's a little bit more campy, and some of the characters are a little bit more over the top, and obviously it's like Hollywood, and it's and it's, you know, characters and in the industry, and it's so funny. I just thought it was so funny. And I don't know. Now it has a special place in my heart. So I don't know if I can rank them. I guess if I could rank them, it would be 1 and 3.
Okay.
And then, oh my God. And then 4 and then 2. I feel like, but it changes, you know, with each watch, it changes. You find different things, and depending on like your mood, you like different ones.
I have to leave. I have so many more questions I could have asked you right now. I love hearing about your journey, and I absolutely adore this new Scream movie. So you already know I'm a diehard fan. It means a lot to me to have this added to my favorite franchise out there. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much. So nice talking to you, and hopefully we can talk more and we can geek out more.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I need to talk about spoilers.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it once the movie's been out for a while and like all the world, then we can talk about everything.
I've been bursting at the seams all day. Whenever they let me, I am there for it.
All right, amazing.